Welcome, 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 everybody. We
Hey,
have
Jonathan.
joining us here from all over the place. I hear the voice, but I don't see a name. Who's that?
Maxine.
Maxine. Welcome, Maxine.
All right.
Glad to have you here with us. We have quite a few folks that have joined. And we're happy to have you all here. We'll get in. If you'd like to, please go ahead and say your name and where you're from. We'd love to have you on record, knowing who you are. Introduce yourself.
Stacy,
Hi,
Louisiana.
everybody.
Very
Sorry.
good.
This is Fulvia from Long Beach, California. Hello,
Well-
everyone.
Welcome, welcome. Keep going, everybody. Just say your name and where you're from.
Gary and Colleen, Hendersonville, North Carolina.
Ashanti and Brenda in Sacramento, California.
Excellent.
Andrea Smith from Maryland.
Jojo from San Diego.
San Diego,
Orlando, Florida.
West Coast, South Coast, Southeast, North, everywhere. Keep going, everybody. There's more. There's more. Go ahead. Don't wait to be invited. Say your name. Where you're from.
Able Beach, Rhode Island.
Sound it out.
Maryland.
There you go. Whether it's cold or hot, say it.
Fulvia, Long Beach, California.
Ah,
Bernardine in Atlanta, Georgia.
all right. Bernardine. Bernard, this folks over the country here.
Charlene from Henderson, Nevada.
Very good.
Shannon from Covington, Louisiana.
Oh, Covington. Kimberly from Maryland.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And I've seen Jeff Ashby on here. So I know he's here. Bernard, trying to get you set up here. But the screen keeps moving on me.
Melanie from Georgia.
Hey, Melanie from Georgia. So a lot of these names I recognize.
Elaine is talking, but we can't hear her because she's mute.
Elaine Godet, Madisonville, Louisiana.
All right.
Joanne Williams, New York. Joanne Williams, New York.
All right. Excellent. And more folks are coming in. Come on in, folks. Come on in. All right, down to the left. We get started here very soon. Jeff, I know you're ready. We got a lot of information we're going to be covering with you folks tonight.
I'm here, Jonathan, just in the van.
All right. Out there on the road.
On the road.
Jonathan, he was in the van last night. He been in that van 24 hours. You're not in Buffalo, New York, are they? They're not looking for you, are they?
Oh,
Just
after
as
that
if they look-
snowstorm last night. You
Ooh.
know.
Yeah, Buffalo's not good. Buffalo was not good. That there. Okay, who else has not introduced themselves? Go ahead. Tell us where you're from. Ahead. Feel free.
Terry Humphrey, Homestead, Florida.
Homestead.
All right, Barry.
Coach
Yeah.
Naja, Winter Haven, Florida.
More Florida. Very good.
Irma McLean, Sacramento, California.
Urban McLean, Sacramento.
Wayne from Maryland.
Right, Maryland.
The Whiting from Idaho.
Bud and Karen, welcome.
I was wondering when Irma was going to introduce herself. I was just waiting for it. I was just waiting for it. I said, you can't look that good on camera and not introduce yourself.
Oh.
Virginia, New York.
Hello, Virginia. Welcome.
Marva Jones, California, Anaheim, California.
All right. All right. That's a wonderful thing. So nice to have you with us. In Virginia, I saw a video of you dancing, 92 years old. She's cutting up a rug. I'm tempted to share it tonight. Yes, indeed. Claimed she was having trouble walking. But we know better. Okay, so some folks are still coming in, so we're going to let them still come lumbering in, but we're going to go ahead and get ourselves started out of respect for your time. We know that you folks are took time out of your busy schedule, especially during this time of the year, to join a discussion like this one that we're having here this evening. And Jeff, want to bring you onto the screen so folks will know that we're working this presentation together. A little bit of information we're going to be trying to share with you, because this is all about micronutrients and the impact that micronutrients can have on things as serious as even COVID-19. So my name is Jonathan Jones, and Jeff Ashby, the company's only ambassador level affiliate. We're going to be working this one together. So Jeff, we're back in the saddle here again.
Yes, we are, Jonathan. And there's not a better place I'd rather be right now coming into the end of this year than talking health and talking hope. I mean, I'm driving around town here in Salt Lake City, and I'm seeing billboards, and it's all about make sure you get this done, make sure you got that done, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, just so that we're not afraid. And we've got that. It's hope in a bottle.
Yes. Yeah. And it's serious too. It is quite serious because the facts are showing that this COVID has really it's taken over. And now the government and the scientists are saying that it's all about living with COVID now. It is now the number 3 leading cause of death in this country. Number 3. So it's hard to even imagine that could be the case. But I'd like to do, Jeff, if it's okay with you, I've got a little video that I think will lay the foundation for our discussion, because sometimes we think in terms of COVID as being a respiratory problem. We think in terms of it being, something that behaves a little bit like the flu. But there's a whole lot more to it than that. And I thought that this one neuroscientist did a really good job of explaining exactly what can happen as a person is dealing with the long-term effects of COVID. So assuming my technology works, I'm going to just try to share it and let's see what happens, okay?
Inflammation in the brain can cause dysregulation of a number of different cell types and have lasting consequences to cognitive function. Understanding that, when the pandemic struck and we saw how profoundly immunogenic, how profoundly inflammatory, even relatively mild cases of COVID could be, I really worried about a neurological health crisis. And I think we're watching that unfold right now. The rates of persistent cognitive symptoms in people who have recovered from COVID is frankly alarming. We need to understand how to intervene and offer effective therapy, or there are going to be just millions of people suffering with these persistent cognitive symptoms. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a virologist. I'm a neurologist. But I am alarmed by the neurological possible consequences of this pandemic and alarmed by the neurological disease that's already evident in many, many, many survivors of COVID. Even from early in the pandemic, it was very clear to neurologists that COVID infection results in a remarkably high rate of persistent neurological symptoms, including quite a high rate of persistent cognitive symptoms that includes things like difficulty paying attention, difficulty with the speed of information processing, difficulty with concentration and memory. And that is something that we should all be paying a lot of attention to. That is really, really concerning. It's debilitating. People are just not returning to their previous level of function. And that's a major problem with 265 million people worldwide infected with COVID, and some estimates of as many as 1 in 4 people, at least prior to the time of vaccination, experiencing these cognitive symptoms. This is a neurological health crisis. I'm a neuro-oncologist, and one of my clinical specialties is to take care of people following cancer therapy who have persistent brain fog, cognitive impairment as a result of their cancer and its therapy. And this so-called chemo brain or chemo fog is very similar to what people are describing after COVID. And so this so-called COVID fog shares almost the identical symptoms. And what we're finding in the laboratory is that the two types of brain fog also share a lot of the very same cellular changes that we think are underpinning this sort of fogginess. We know that with severe COVID infection that many things can go wrong, that severe disease is associated with blood clots that can cause stroke, with even direct infection of the brain, and with the consequences of multi-organ disease and damage. But even after mild COVID, people were reporting persistent cognitive trouble. And I wondered whether the inflammatory response just to the respiratory infection might be enough to trigger neuroinflammation, inflammation in the brain, and consequently dysregulate these cells that are so important to keep in balance for healthy cognitive function. What we discovered in the laboratory in mice that have relatively mild respiratory COVID, and then in human samples, COVID elicits such a profound inflammatory response in the brain. And as a result of that, brain cells that need to work together in order to communicate and function normally were dysregulated. In severe cases of COVID, there can be direct infection of the brain, but in many cases, there's no evidence of virus in the brain. What's happening to affect the brain instead is a consequence of the immune response to the virus. And what we studied was how the immune response to infection that was limited to the respiratory system could cause inflammation in the brain through signaling molecules that go from the lung, through the blood, and to the brain. We found pretty high levels of inflammatory molecules called cytokines and chemokines in the central nervous system just from mild respiratory infection. And together with that, we saw inflammation in a particular kind of brain immune cell, which is called a microglia. When microglia and astrocytes become reactive, they then can cause dysregulation of another kind of glial cell that form the insulation around axons, quite literally like the insulation on a wire. And when that happens, the neurons, the communicating cells in the brain, can't communicate with each other in their normal way. Not as quickly and not as well. And so that can cause dysregulation of the whole circuit and cause cognitive impairment. This pathophysiology is particularly prominent in COVID. Now,
I'm going to stop it right there because I think it gives that gives a pretty good snapshot of the level of seriousness of the problem without drilling down too deep. and it really described a lot of the very things that Dr. Prasad has said about the condition. Because the immune system is responding, there's something called cytokines and chemokines being released into the blood system, and that in turn can make its way into the brain and do damage to certain neurons in the brain. And that's pretty serious. And none of this has changed, folks. Nothing has changed even since the latest technologies have been, released. The numbers are still climbing, and even now, like I said, the CDC's website has indicated that COVID is now the number 3 leading cause of death in this country, and that's really kind of scary, and it's really kind of sad to think that could be the case. But it's for real, folks. It's for real. And there's one chart. When Jeff is showing us a testimonial, I'll find this other chart to show you. But I had to dig deep on this one. I didn't remember where I found it. It was on the CDC's website, but I think there's a link right on the bottom of it to the address. And I'll share a link to this video also. I'll put that in the chat. But on the chart, it showed heart disease, cancer, COVID-19 in that order. But the interesting part about this chart is just below heart disease, it shows since COVID, how heart disease has taken a jump. And the same thing, the difference with cancer. So there's a real problem. Now, the page you're looking at right now, this is the CDC's website. So this is an active shot directly from the CDC's website. I just did a web capture so I could write on the screen. Again, assuming that my technology actually works. So you never can tell. I never know what I'm going to get when I turn my computer on. Hold on, I'm going to kill my camera here and see if I get a little bit more bandwidth out of this thing. But it describes a lot of the conditions that we just heard about in that video about long COVID and post-COVID conditions. And okay, yeah, so now it's going a little bit. Here's a little bit of the information about post-COVID. The second checklist you see there says there's no test that determines if your symptoms or condition is due to COVID-19. There's no test to determine if your symptoms or condition is due to COVID-19. So something can be wrong with a person. They go to their healthcare provider as instructed. Something is wrong. They can't figure out exactly what it is, and there's no test to determine if what you're experiencing right now is due to COVID-19. There's no long COVID test. Now, scientists are making progress in that area because now they've figured out certain markers that they can begin to look for. So they are trying to develop something that will indicate whether or not you are suffering from long COVID. Some of the symptoms, we heard about some of the symptoms in that video, but again, this is current. Tiredness or fatigue, and it could just be general malaise. Very difficult in putting forth physical or mental effort. I think that's right along the line of COVID brain. Respiratory and heart symptoms. To me, that's kind of scary because there's a lot of folks, especially in the 60 and older category, that can experience shortness of breath and chest pain, fast beating or pounding of the heart palpitations, and think that it's just kind of normal. Neurological symptoms. Now we're getting into the COVID or brain fog. That first line that's mentioned right there, that's what some have referred to that as COVID brain. Difficulty thinking or concentrating, headaches, sleep problems, dizziness, pins and needle feelings, change in smell or taste, depression or anxiety. And some of these things can appear to be very normal. I had one client that purchased a product that we sold for many, many years. And she would buy it all the time. And she keeps sending it back and saying that it tastes like spoiled milk. She says she just spit it out. She can't drink it. And she sent a picture of the lot number and, the whole manufacturing code. It's the exact same one that I'm using right now, and it tastes perfectly normal. But she's convinced that the product is just ruined. It's just been destroyed. She doesn't know yet that she could be experiencing some of the neurological symptoms of long COVID, because it can alter your sense of smell and your sense of taste. It can lead to diarrhea, stomach pain, and other symptoms. And then this section right here, I thought was the one that was kind of lined up with what we mentioned earlier. Look at the paragraph. People with post-COVID conditions may develop or continue to have symptoms that are hard to explain and manage. Hard to explain, symptoms that are hard to explain and manage. It goes on to describe this myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome type condition or other poorly understood chronic illnesses that may occur after other infections. People with these unexplained symptoms may be misunderstood by their healthcare providers, which can result in a long time for them to get a diagnosis and receive appropriate care or treatment. Now, my question to you is, if a person is in that situation, what are their options? If you're that person that is experiencing something that is misunderstood and the healthcare provider cannot figure out what's wrong with you, but it's actually a measurable, you feel it, and no one, even if someone's telling you that it's all in your head, that very well may be the case. It may very well be in your head. It's called COVID-19 or long COVID. It very well could be the case. My question is, what is the solution? Now, Jeff, I have a question for you, since we're right here at this part of our discussion, and this is where I think that you can maybe help us with this. If a person is in that situation where they're experiencing something that they can't explain, they've gone to their healthcare provider, no one can put their finger on it, every test that they've run, they've even gone to, the chiropractor, neurologist, they've gone to psychiatrists even, and other specialists. Maybe they even went to a veterinarian, I don't know. What's their options, Jeff?
Well, it's interesting. Our bodies don't understand all of these labels that we've given different disease states. It doesn't know the terminology COVID brain. It doesn't know the terminology that we are using for all of these different just descriptors. All the body knows is that it's out of balance and it's having difficulties amassing the right type of soldiers to go take care of these cytokine storms. And so truly what we have is once again hope in that bottle, because we're giving our body the best nutrition possible, and then we're letting it go out and take care of these things. Who knows, it could be a cascade of different events that is causing somebody to have taste bud issues. It may not all be in their mouth. It may be in their head. It might be part of their smelling. It might be part of, but it's the body has it all figured out. It knows where it needs to direct the nutrition. And that's what I appreciate about the microdaily. That's why I say it's truly hope for what ails us in a bottle, because it's not going in to cause a reaction. And that's the way that medications are designed. They're going in either directly affecting a cause and creating a reaction, or they're going, once you name something, once you call it out, once you identify it, you're kind of taking the body's ability out of that to really focus on a broader scale. And so a lot of the things that you just shared with us would scare the crap out of me. You got this, you got this, you got this, you got this, and hey, it could be that. And so let's name it. But I don't know, I've seen some incredible testimonials. I'm thinking, and I wish I had access to it here on my laptop, but on Veterans Day, we had Leland Patine come on, and he talked about issues that he had with his prostate, but then he also mentioned his dealing with COVID. And I don't know if you can remember from that testimony, I've heard it a couple of times now, Jonathan, but he talked about how he had a severe strain of COVID that ended up hospitalizing him, but he never had to go on a ventilator. But it was demonstrated that throughout his stay there, they were monitoring several different aspects, and it was his heart that was affected. He had damage to one of his heart valves, and they blamed it on COVID, they being the doctors and those that were taking care of him. However, upon leaving the hospital, in fact, even in the hospital, he was continuing to consume the micro daily. After he got out, he elevated that dose, and he is exercising now, and they did another scan on his heart, and that damage that was caused has, in Leland's own words, been taken care of.
Oh, wow.
And so I like I said, I wish I had that video. We'll make it a point, maybe on Sunday, we could bring that together. But the other one that comes to mind, and I know you were going to be looking up some links for us, was what we started out with tonight. You started out with that video on what's going on in the brain.
Yeah.
And that right there is just enough to really put anybody in a state of fear. And that's really what where we function from in our medical community around us. It is get us so afraid of things then that we make decisions without rational thought process. And I know I've taken quite a while to kind of build this up, but what I want to share with everybody here tonight is some of our best friends. In fact, this couple is responsible for introducing Helen and I to each other. And so that's how dear they are. But she went through a battle with cancer and ended up with chemo brain. And as you started out today talking about in the video, and I wish we could have seen the whole thing instead of just heard her dialogue, but
Yeah.
she talked about chemo brain and COVID brain eliciting the same cognitive impairment. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I want to share this video with you of some really good friends of ours and have her walk everybody through what it was like dealing with chemo brain. And I want to just have that dovetail right into our conversation tonight.
Excellent. Excellent. Do
you
you have your disclaimer on the front end of your of that video?
I do not, but you know what? I can bring up my disclaimer right now, and I'll do that first if you want to.
I think that'd be good.
Perfect. All righty. These statements and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and includes recent advances in micronutrient research. Engage, the micronutrient company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any disease or injury. Engage's products do, however, address our deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition that we are lacking. So what you're going to hear next is a video that we captured actually in their home. I was there with my cell phone. I just held it up and I had Linda and Steve share their experiences. And once again, these are their experiences, but it's going to really relate to our conversation and our discussion tonight.
Excellent.
So if I can, let me share this with everyone.
Hi, we're Steve and Linda Stay, and our story with Engage started probably 4 years ago when a friend told us about this product, and I looked at it and said, yeah, nothing special here. You know, the cost was, we were used to spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on supplements, and so I dismissed it. But Linda, even though we spend that money on supplements, Linda was diagnosed with cancer, and breast cancer, And after surgery and extensive chemo treatments, life wasn't going real well for him.
Right. I had survived the cancer, which I kind of wished I hadn't, because now I was dealing with the side effects, and chemo brain is a real thing. If you know people that have gone through chemo, trust me, they're struggling. And what chemo brain does is, number one, you can't really piece thoughts together. You can't function like you used to. I was a very multi-functioning multitasker, and I couldn't do that anymore. Couldn't think, and I had unreasonable anxiety and fear that would just come out of nowhere. And I honestly felt like I can't live with this brain. I don't want to be here anymore. And it was hard to, I didn't express that, but Steve picked up on the fact that I was really struggling, and he felt.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd spent literally thousands of dollars a month over the year on supplements, IV nutritional things. He's trying to prevent that, and watching your sweetheart go through that kind of stuff isn't fun. And so I was searching, man, deep in my heart for an answer, and something told me to call my friend Jeff, and I needed to talk to him about what was called MMF then, and microdaily. And I called Jeff and said, I need to talk to you about this. For some reason, I'm feeling that's what Linda needs. And we got together a few weeks later as he made it back into town and
started on the product. And within a week, 10 days, I started to feel a little bit better. And it wasn't too long after that we had the opportunity to meet Dr. Prasad. And I told him what I was struggling with, and he held my hand and promised me that those brain cells could be restored, and that I would get better, and that I would be myself again. And I just started to cry and said, I hope so. I really hope so. And it was at that time that I confided in Steve how desperate I felt. And every week that went by, I felt more of my self coming back. It was like I could feel my brain coming alive again, and I could function again like I used to. I was back. I was back, and it's truly been incredible. I'm including energy and aches and pains, and all of that type of stuff.
But your brain was functioning like at the level, that incredible level that it always had.
Yeah.
As a caretaker, that's not an easy position to take either. But I noticed with taking it that my sleep was deeper. I was sleeping deeper, and I'd had a hand tremor that had been progressing over the years, something that kind of runs in my family. And Linda noticed about 6-7 weeks into using this product that I'm pouring some tea from a bottle into another container. She says, your hand's not shaking. I'm like, wow, it isn't. The other hand tried it.
It was awesome.
And so we've loved it as we understand the science more. One of the best decisions we ever made was to give it a try.
And again, we figure that we replaced about $300 a month
Just multiple
vitamin supplements that we were taking, $300 a month each. So that's a real winner.
Here comes the beach.
It's great to just relive that experience with Steve and Linda. And I can tell you, because we're all kind of amongst friends here and individuals that are part of the Microdaily family. We've all done other products before. They were sitting at the top of several other multi-level marketing companies, and pretty much retired. And that's how I know them. Is they were a chicken phone call for me. One of those you pick up the phone and say, you don't know me, but so and so suggested I give you a call about some incredible products. And
wow,
that's how we got to know each other. And to have their lives change. So something right there in the beginning when he says, I just kind of discounted it because of the price, because they were used to spending so much more with other companies that they represented. And so it's kind of interesting when you look at the whole way that played out, and the difference that this product made for both of them.
No, it's incredible.
Pretty touching.
It's incredible to see it, and incredible to hear the story. I remember the first time, I think it was you that sent me this document that I'm going to share right now, because you made such a big deal about the fact that Dr. Prasad had written a paper. And this was before there were no vaccines at the time. There were no options really for people who may have come down with COVID. And now they are now admitting that what some people were experiencing was in fact COVID, that it was here a lot earlier than they thought. But Dr. Prasad wrote this paper entitled Supplementation with a Mixture of Micronutrients May Improve Ability of the Immune System to Fight COVID-19 Infection. I'm so glad the way he worded that, because, just like you said in the disclaimer, we're not trying to make any claims that microdaily or anything else will cure or treat any disease state. But this is the published document right here, and anyone can look this up for themselves, that Dr. Prasad wrote. And I'm sorry, I've got mine all kind of marked up here. It looks like a bunch of crayons, been coloring all over it. But for me, when I'm going through something like this, everything is kind of aha and amazing, because, I know so little, on the subject. But what he went on to describe was just absolutely amazing. He covers things about the way the immune system works that, it's really like going to college, because just that one point there in the middle of that one paragraph, improving immune function remains one of the best options for them to eliminate this infection. So one of the most brilliant minds on the planet put that in writing. Improving immune function remains one of the best options for them to eliminate this infection. And think about that. Isn't that the way that most viral infections are pretty much managed? They'll come up with a vaccine that's designed to manipulate the immune system so that the immune system can identify it whenever it comes in contact with it, and then eradicate it, get rid of it. I'm going to kill my video again just to keep my bandwidth up. But toward the end of this document, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I thought one of the last things that I saw at the end of this document, I wrote down a note on it. It was as if Dr. Prasad was describing long COVID. He says here, because of limitations of effectiveness of a single micronutrient in human, a hypothesis is proposed that a mixture of micronutrients may be more effective than a single micronutrient in improving immune function by reducing oxidative stress and inflammation, and thereby eliminating of COVID-19 infection. And again, I'm just quoting from what Dr. Prasad wrote. This mixture of micronutrients may also reduce the risk of developing adverse health effects amongst survivors of COVID-19 infection. So you just shared with us a story, Linda and what's his name again? I forgot that quick.
Steve.
And
Steve
Steve.
and Linda. Yep.
Their story about her experiencing chemo brain, which again was the long-term effects of COVID infection. And there, it just underscores exactly what Dr. Prasad had put in writing in his own published paper. So, Jeff, that's amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing validation of the entire process. I know I found that chart. I didn't find the link to it, but I just found my image of it. So if anybody wants to snap a picture of it, you can take a screenshot of this chart, and you'll see down at the very bottom of it what the link is. cdc.gov/ hard to make it out, but it's NCHS/data and so on. But the Natural Center of Health Statistics, that's where this chart came from. So heart disease, number 1, cancer, number 2, COVID-19, number 3. So COVID-19 now is above unintentional injuries. Now that's another way of expressing that is iatrogenics or medical mistakes. They put it so nicely, they're unintentional injuries. So iatrogenics has, prior to COVID, was the number 3 leading cause of death in this country. So put that in perspective. Being sick, seeking medical attention, going into a medical facility and receiving an unintentional injury prior to COVID was the 3rd leading cause of death in this country. Isn't that amazing? It says unintentional injuries, but notice that it's on the list of 10 leading causes of death. So a medical mistake, iatrogenic, was prior to COVID the 3rd leading cause of death in this country, the medical system, followed by stroke, respiratory issues, Alzheimer's, and then diabetes. Diabetes was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the list. And that's heading toward 130 some million in this country alone. So is this a strong argument here, Jeff, for remaining well or being proactive about our health?
You know, Jonathan, there couldn't be a better demonstration of where we're at in history, where we're at with Dr. Prasad, and truly, it is our moral obligation to, once we know this information, to share it with others, because there's so many people that are just truly scared to death.
Yeah.
And we've got a possible answer for them. Microdaily EMF and the probiotic. I can't say enough good about that probiotic and that ability to go in and provide our bodies with the right microorganisms, and then giving them the diet, the food that they want, because they don't want all the candies and the sweets and all of those things that the bad guys that are in our stomach want. Dr. Prasad thought enough, because he actually discovered butyric acid and its ability to take out cancer because of those fermentation of fibers in our gut. He discovered it, and he's put it there, his combination, quantity and form, in our incredible products. And I'm speaking specifically right now of the probiotic. So yes. Probiotic combination with the Microdaily EMF is a 1-2 punch that's going to just truly put things that we've been talking about tonight on this call on their knees. You have the largest organization in this company right now. What has been your observation as to an amount that's effective? Of course, we're not talking about treating or cure COVID-19, but if someone, say, is dealing with some issues that can't be explained, and they just really want their immune system to kick in and step up and do a better job, what tends to be the amount that is most effective when they're in that category? Jonathan, it states right on the bottle, 3 capsules, 2 to 3 times per day. And we've already heard from Dr. Prasad that is that recommended maintenance dose. That's if it's maintaining all of the healthy levels of the micronutrients in our system. So many of us, though, have just become deficient over the years, or our bodies have gone so long without certain aspects of those micronutrients. And then another one of the points that Dr. Prasad makes, and I've been around him enough and on enough calls, and actually going to be enjoying, and he doesn't know this, but I'm going to be there for his birthday on the 8th. We're going to surprise him. But being around him, he has said even one micronutrient being out of balance can cause some of these things. And so when we have truly the father of micronutrients and nutrition available to us, back to your question, I think everybody should be a minimum of the 3 and 3, but we're finding that if people boost that up and go with 5 twice a day, and then if that's not really getting it, if they're not noticing a response, once again, we're not causing the body to react. We want the body to respond. And so it is going to be gentle. It is going to be nice. And sometimes it needs to clean out, take out the trash. But instead of slowing down, you want to support the body in that process. But going 5, 5, and 5 is so 15 capsules a day versus just a possible 6. So you're kind of doubling the dose is a fantastic way to begin to see whether that extra nutrition is supporting your body and then adjust it back and forth. There's just times I feel like it's like on this trip that we're on right now. I was white knuckle driving like nothing last night. Didn't get a lot of sleep because we were driving. Got in here. It's cold. I took 6 capsules this morning instead of the normal 3 or 4. I took 6 just because I wanted a little extra. Even this afternoon, I'm around a lot of crowds. There's a lot of shopping things that we need to do when we got to the city. And I'll tell you what, I've popped a couple others and just kind of chewed on them. That bottle right there, what you're holding, you just got to be careful because with those green capsules, sometimes they leave some little bit of green in your teeth. That's the only side effect, Jonathan. I mean, you just went through quite a lengthy explanation of all these people going in and having, oops, sorry, it was an unintentional injury because of the medications that they're on. And so those side effects are real. In fact, sometimes I've been listening to those commercials and I'm thinking, is this a joke? I mean, are they just making fun of this this drug that they just wanted us to buy? I mean, it's somebody can say, just kidding, because how many of them end with "and could cause death"? So a little green in your teeth from these capsules, if you don't swallow them, that's a side effect.
So green teeth, it's like you've been eating parsley. I'm not gonna comment on that one, Jeff. But I will say that taking the extra has proven to be a good idea. I found that I can't take the maintenance dose anymore. I'm 60, and in a few months I'll be 61. And I'm noticing that the dose that Dr. Prasad recommends for a 20-year-old just isn't quite enough for me. So I take a double dose in the morning every day.
Yeah.
And so I go 2x. And then after every single meal, I find myself walking around with the gummies. And I have them in my pocket almost all the time now. So when I eat something, I chew on a couple of these things. It does not leave any green in my teeth, just to let you know that. So I don't have to worry about that.
All right. You're making my mouth water holding that up in front of me like that. It's called like teasing me.
I chew on 4 of these little puppies, Jeff. And let me tell you something. I'm noticing that my gut processes things better. We were talking about this the other day. We got a couple hands up that we're going to take their questions if that's all right with you. But in Dr. Prasad's discussion about cancer just 2 weeks ago, I think it was, he mentioned that the nitrites from bacon or sausage, or, for those of us who are carnivores, could combine with amine that's already in our system. If those 2 things can combine, it's like turning the dial and setting the timer for potential cancer 10 to 15 years from now. He says, if we don't have vitamin C or vitamin E present in our system, in our gut. So I've decided that to make sure that I interrupt that clock, that I chew a couple of these things, and it's been really doing a nice job. I'm really enjoying that. It's been a wonderful thing. So that's just my little recommendation. But thank you for making sure that we understand taking a little extra, especially if we're feeling the symptoms of something, that the doctors can't figure out what it is, prop the immune system up a little bit better and see where it goes from there. So
No,
that's,
and this is it's something that we can all look forward to, because I think we're going to see it in the next 90 days. At least that's what Dr. Prasad is saying. He's been through the process of submitting and then getting back patents.
Mhm.
And he's alluded to on several of your calls and calls that I've done with him that one of his patents has to do with 3 to 4 timesing the dose of the microdaily EMF.
That's what I'm talking about. There it is.
And so when that patent is actually granted, it's been in a patent pending status, but it's been long enough that Dr. Prasad says they got really backed up in the patent office because of COVID.
Mhm.
But he is expecting in the next 90 days or so. Imagine how exciting it would be to add not just the 7 patents that we reference, but 3 additional ones to that repertoire that we can then reference. And I said one of those is about 3 to 4 times in the dose. Now, is it going to say microdaily in it? No, it's going to be the formulation
Yes.
of micronutrients and antioxidants that Dr. Prasad is so famous for. But just imagine being in a place where you could take advantage of a patent that's going out. So I know we've got some hands we need to get to, and I'm only good for about another 10 minutes or so here. But
Oh,
go ahead.
yeah. No, we're going to wrap up here in just a couple of seconds. But Stephanie Pinkard, one of our newest affiliates, has a question.
Yay! Anyway, that's not what I got on for, but when you showed that chart about unintentional, there in that unintentional part, it made me think of how
unintentional injuries.
the unintentional, how we even got introduced to taking the gummies. My granddaughter, we had taken her to get a COVID test, get her vaccine, her second vaccine. And the first one, she was okay. And my daughter, she doesn't like doing this anyway, but she did it because she was going to go back to school. So she got the second vaccine. And they told us that, you're going to feel these symptoms because, your body has to try to build up to the vaccine. Well, she had gotten really, really sick. And I mean, it was like it had went 2 or 3 weeks and she was still sick. And my mom, she had sent us, I had told her that she was sick, so she sent us the gummies. And we gave her, because we read on there, she's 8. And it said for 4-year-olds, you give them, I think it was 4, you give them 4 of those, 4 and up. So I think my daughter she gave her just 2 of those. And she did it for so many, I'm not even sure how many days, but after giving her those gummies, she started to get better. Her body, it just was like she couldn't get that vaccine out of her system. And my daughter called people back and she said, I believe that after she got this vaccine, she just got worse and wouldn't get better. And they told her, oh no, it couldn't have been the vaccine. It couldn't have been the vaccine. Well, we knew that's what it was, but it was amazing how we got that, putting those nutrients in her body, built her body back up to where she could somewhat function again, as a child. So it's just amazing.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you for sharing that story, because that adds right directly to our discussion, and just shows again, Jeff, it's not a good time to be trying to put your confidence in a system that the 3rd leading cause of death, now the 4th leading cause of death, is a mistake that a professional could make. So that's kind of something else. Alfreda has a question, and folks, if you would, just so that we can get through as many of the questions as we can, just get right to the point if you can, please.
Okay, hello everybody. I just something that happened today. I just wanted to comment on. Today, I had gone to do a mammogram, and so the nurse was asking me, questions, and she wanted to know had I had the COVID-19 shot, and so I told her no, and then I told her I take supplements to, keep me from getting that. And so the interesting thing was that after that, she told me, well, the reason that, we asked that now is because we have noticed that women that have had the shot are experiencing larger lymph nodes under their arms. Their lymph nodes are getting enlarged.
Wow.
So I was like, so my next comment to her was, well, that's another reason for me not to take it. So
wow.
But I thought that was really interesting that she would, mention that, and they now ask you that, because it's enough people having that reaction. And so to taking a shot with the lymph nodes, around their breasts.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you very much for sharing that. And it's unfortunate that there are some adverse reactions that are taking place out there. So another argument for making sure you keep your immune system nice and strong. We see iPhone has a hand up here, but we don't have a name. So if we could find out who that is, that would be very helpful. We're real cautious about.
I'm Stacy Clay from Louisiana.
Okay, Stacy Clay, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question about the gummies. The instructions on the bottle said take one if they're under 4 and 2 if they're 8 and older. I've been taking 2. Can I take more than 2 a day?
And are you over 8?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm in my 50 plus club.
Okay. So the adult dosage is 8 of these.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My next thing, I take 27 micro dailies because because I had triple metastatic breast cancer. So I was told to go up on my micro dailies. But
okay. 8 of those will be the
is
equivalent to 3 capsules of EMF.
Yeah, I take 27 with no problem. I have more energy than anybody can imagine. I feel better. I'm off of my deathbed. I thank God for Dr. Facade and you all.
Wonderful.
So my next question is, well, I guess that'll be a business question. I'm affiliated also.
Okay, good.
Affiliated, yes.
Very good,
okay,
very good. If you do have business questions, get back with your sponsor or your legacy team upline, and they can help you with that, okay?
Sure will, thanks.
Good, thank you. Thank you for sharing that point too. Pamela DeVoe has a question or comment.
Yes, I wanted to know if the nutrients affect blood thinners.
Do they affect blood thinners?
Yes, if a person is taking blood thinners, would it affect it?
No, I was
Dr.
on.
Prasad has said no. Jeff, you have another comment on that?
It's the same thing. It's no, and it looks like at least it sounded like we had.
Alfreda's saying no because
Yeah.
I was on blood thinners for a while, and it actually helped me probably to get off of them sooner.
Thank you. That's exactly what our goal is. Yep.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. And Dr. Russ Court has a question or comment, please.
You'll need to unmute yourself, Russ. Dr. Court.
Okay.
There we go.
Thought I was unmuted. I just had a couple of thoughts. One thought, and this is, I wanted to ask you this, Jeff, but about talking about this upcoming patent that Dr. Prasad has, we might not want to be putting it out there to a bunch of people because that may affect his ability to get the patent.
So true.
So I wanted to throw that out to people, especially since we have over 100 people on this call. Let's just keep that our little secret, because it would break all of our hearts if we just, in our excitement, put it out and it got to the wrong hands and his patent was declined as a result of something that we did. So I'm just encouraging everybody to just keep it zipped until we have it. It won't be long. And I think it's really important and respectful to Dr. Prasad, and for all of us as adults. We have to just hang on to our excitement until it's actually put in paper, is my opinion. What do you think, Jeff? Sorry.
Point well taken, and it's going to drive even home to our guests that are on here today the significance of what it'll be like when it comes out. And so, yes, thank you. Very, very well spoken, Dr. Court.
Yeah, it is world changing, and we want to make sure he gets it, and we don't want to be the ones who blow that one out. The other thing was with the woman that had the mammogram today, and I was trying to remember, is it CT, is it MRI, or is it, what is the mammogram? But I was speaking to Dr. Prasad one day about the radiation, and he was telling me about the actually CT study that they did. And he said that in a CT scan, they found lymphocytic double DNA breaks in 100% of the people that had CT. And that continued for 5 to 6 hours after the procedure. And this was, I pulled off the road and was talking to him about this, because we think about when we go to the dentist and they do that cone beam X-ray around your entire brain. That's a CT scan. But he also said in that human trial that the ones that had the formula, there was a 50% reduction in these double DNA breaks. So in my clinic, whenever I X-rayed somebody, I always made sure that they got a dosage, a half an hour, 45 minutes before they came to get the X-ray. And then I gave them another 2 to 3 day dose afterwards. And so for the woman that had the procedure, I think it's a really good idea to have a little bit more today, tomorrow, and the next day.
I'm
Very
going to
good.
get it now.
Very good. Keep those gummies on hand. I'm telling you, everybody, keep those gummies on hand. So thank you very much there, Dr. Court. Listen, folks, on January the 8th, this Dr. Russ Court, I'm going to be interviewing him on Sunday, January the 8th. You do not want to miss that. This guy knows a little something about the brain and EMF. This is Dr. EMF. All right, so we're going to have a nice little discussion on January the 8th. Write that one down. The same Zoom link and password at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's a Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, Dr. Court. Thank you very much again, Russ. And one last question here from Dolores Levette. It's either a question or a comment, because she's been very effective in using micronutrients with her family and others.
It's a comment. I was just going to comment on the blood thinners. My husband is on blood thinners, and he takes Micronutrients every day. Been doing it for the last, I guess, about 5 years, and he's doing fine, so no problem.
And both you and he were COVID survivors before COVID. Could you tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up?
Yes, we were. Just talked about it with someone today. It was at a time when COVID was just raising its head here, well, in the Albany area. And we didn't know it was COVID. Was exposed by a friend. They told her she had an upper respiratory infection and a urinary tract infection. Well, she had COVID. She ended up in the hospital on a ventilator. She, her sister, and a niece, and she lost her sister to COVID. So I went to see her at the hospital briefly. Before I could get home, I started to feeling terrible. But we had been taking Micronutrients for a long while. So when I started to feel bad, we took so much hydro. That's all I could do. I took a lot of hydro, drank a lot of hot liquids, stayed in the bed, chills and fevers. I lost my smell and my taste, but we never had to go to the doctor. Micronutrients helped us through both, and we are not young. We both of us.
Both of you in the high risk group?
Yes. Well, my husband has underlying health issues. I don't have any underlying health issues, but I am elderly. But neither one of us had to go. We didn't go to the doctor, but we had COVID. We had all the symptoms. And like I say, I lost my taste and my smell. So definitely it was COVID.
Incredible. Thank you very much, Dolores, for sharing. An amazing story. Jeff?
Wow. What an evening.
What can we say, right? Can you put that disclaimer up one more time, please?
I certainly will. And while I'm doing this, Jonathan, we just need to let everybody know that there's only 2 days left. Get these products coming. Get them on order. You're not going to want to start the new year not protected. Get them now. Use your flex spending. So I know there
flex
was
spending. Somebody asked about flex spending.
Yeah, I mean it's nutrition, depending upon how your plan works. Use it. Use everything that you have at your ability to get these into your hands. Make the investment in your health. Make that investment in 2022. So I know we've had several individuals that wanted a copy of this statement. Please just take a picture of it. It's difficult for me to put into the chat.
Yep, there you go. There you go. All right, folks, there you have it. My name is Jonathan Jones, and you heard from Jeff Ashby. Today is December the 29th, 2022. This will be my official last presentation for 2022, but we will be here on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. So we start the year out with a bang. We're serious about getting the word out about health and nutrition. So thank you folks very much for joining us. Jeff, thank you very much again. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job. All right, folks. Y'all have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, Jonathan and Jeff. Thank you all.
Good night. Great call.
Good night, everybody.
Great call. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And Jeff.
Praise the Lord.
Good night. Good night.
Let's go.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Dr. Russ, for your input.
Thank you, Dr. Ford.
Good night, everybody.
And now, Jehovah, give attention to their threat to grant your slaves to keep speaking your word with all boldness, while you stretch out.
Let's go.
Thank you. Very interesting. Good night, everyone.